I remember when my dad hired Paul in the 80s at the Country Club of Virginia. And he told me, he said, wait till you meet this young man who's coming on staff. You're going to love him. And the day I met him, it really was true. He's a lovable guy, hardworking, fair, friendly, and really put everything in perspective that you got to work hard in the golf business because you love what you do.
He was probably as passionate about the PGA as anybody I've ever known, to want to go through the different levels.
Paul was interested in helping every PGA member because that just elevated our association, and that's what Paul was all about.
He loved to grow the game of golf. He loved the mission of the PGA. PGA was a family to Paul.
It's obvious by Paul's service and dedication to the PGA, not only to the Middle Atlantic section, but to the PGA of America, that he loved the PGA. I added up something like 14, 16 years that he served in various leadership positions. If I had to pick a word to talk about who Paul was, it was his servant attitude. He really thought he was on this earth to serve others.
Being on the Board of Control at the national level was his way to serve the members outside of what he just did in his fellowship amongst us in different club levels and at the section level. He wanted to really serve the whole nation by being on the board.
One of the special traits that Paul Michaelian had was care for other people. His Christian belief came through loud and clear in that caring attitude.
He just wanted to help everybody, wanted to serve everybody, but everybody knew his faith. It showed everywhere. He was passionate about helping others, but also just showing them kindness and love.
When it comes to Paul and his character, it's not often you say you admire your friends, but I've admired him for decades. The way that he was a PGA professional, the way that he was a husband and a father, and just a wonderful person.
I was very lucky to know Paul inside the golf business, but even more so outside the golf business. After work, he would often come to my house and eat leftovers that my mom had made for dinner, and there were only dishes to clean, not leftovers to put in the refrigerator. So watching Paul eat, spending time with him at my house, that was really part of my favorite things about him.
Every meeting he went to, there was a menu. And he would call me afterwards on his way home, and he'd always tell me, Michelle, you won't believe what they served today.
I learned about Paul's love for eating about 4 decades ago when he worked at Williamsburg Country Club, and the chef there, the relationship that they had, I'd every now and then join him for lunch and talk about one of his favorite people, that was the chef.
One of the favorite expressions I remember from Paul is he said, I can hide some groceries now.
He believed in he believed in everybody else's opportunities. He took great pride in knowing what you were eating. And if you weren't involved, he would more than happily order whatever he thought you ought to have and let you come eat with him. He was a firm believer in good food, that boy.
As we all know, Paul was a big man. It got to be kind of a fun needle or poke at him, that the amount of food that he could put away. I don't think he ever left a drop on the plate.
When Paul was the president of our Middle Atlantic section, you had the sense that everything in the section was under control. His leadership made everybody want to follow proudly.
He was a collaborator and really tried to build consensus in making our association make all the right decisions.
Paul was very determined to make sure that his leadership would be known and would help people, would help his peers.
Paul loved being involved with the Middle Atlantic PGA. He loved taking pictures with our high-achieving pros that won awards, because he really believed in the recognition for our MAPGA professionals.
He loved wearing the badge. He was a family man. He was a hard-working businessman. But when he represented all of us in the section, you could really see his true colors.
He bleeds PGA blood. I mean, it's just that simple, that he's... It meant a great deal to him.
I don't think Paul did anything with PGA to draw attention to himself ever. He'd be touched. He'd also be a little bit embarrassed because he'd think it was be somebody else that should deserve it more than him. But there's really nobody more deserving. He has done as much or more for the organization as anybody I know. I hope he understands how much he meant to all of us.
I don't know anyone more deserving. I just wish he was here with us to celebrate it. He spent his entire career serving our association proudly.
For Paul to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, he strives so much. He was so loyal to the PGA. I know he's smiling in heaven. I know he is.